Look, I don't care what you are. This ends now! We're the ones who live.
Hey guys, and welcome to part 5 of What If the Governor Met Negan the Remake. Last time, we touched upon the rest of the Terminus arc, Father Gabriel, and the entrance to Alexandria with Rick and company, and ended off with the Governor and the Croat being much more influential of a friendship than we would have originally thought, considering what we do not know still of the Croat, and what will happen with the Governor and the Croat regarding the Kingdom's first appearance. We shall resume that. Now, the Governor being around allows for a much more different plan than you might think. With the Governor's fascinating loyalty to Negan, with the deal in mind that he made with him, this results in the Governor being far more endeared to Negan than in my original outing, which means that when we get to the Kingdom's first scene, the Governor makes sure the Croat doesn't kill the kid because she could still prove to be useful and an even better hold on the Kingdom. And the Croat, having already been friends with the Governor for quite some time, agrees to this because the plan sounds good and he wants to remain loyal to Negan because of how much he cares about him. He even said so himself when he met up again with Negan in Dead City. Speaking of Dead City, that little interaction that we saw with Simon, Negan, and the Croat when he killed the kid, that won't happen here. But Simon will still not like the Croat, because something tells me, even though the Croat did not kill the kid in this outing, something tells me that Simon and the Croat already didn't get along, just based off of that whole interaction. So that means that Simon's still not going to like him. And because of this, Simon starts to develop a small loathing of the Governor. Now keep in mind, this isn't huge like with Negan. This is just small. Even with the Croat now, it's even dimmed down. But knowing Simon, this would progressively get worse. But at this point, he just doesn't like them. Now I know, in my original outing of this story, after the Governor killed Negan, I was like, oh, him and Simon would get along great, and they already were so alike in so many ways, and everything else. Why didn't you do that again? Well, for lack of a better word, old habits die hard, and number two, because of the Croat. You see, if I had included the Croat in my original story, albeit with more lack of context, it would have endeared towards the Governor and the Croat having a better friendship than the Governor and Simon, which means that in this particular outing, the Governor and Simon won't have that little hatred for Negan and friendship. That friendship will now be replaced with the Governor and the Croat, since for one thing, the Governor has something in his mind to keep him going and loyal to Negan, and for another, the Croat reminds him of him, per se, and of what he used to strive for in Woodbury. Now, Negan's still going to have suspicion about the Croat, but he's not going to want to kill him or think he's a rabid dog like he did originally. But he's not going to have any, hatred for him or kill him or anything like that because of the Governor. And the Governor's already endearing loyalty to Negan, and the fact that he's calmed down what Negan thought the Croat would just turn into a monster, this means that he likes the Governor even more, and is considering in putting him in one of the top places in his savior whole stack there. Now, the Governor and the Croat's whole friendship has also meant that, if I did not touch upon this already, they have actually expanded on a basement to the sanctuary, and in said basement is the Governor's plan for when Rick, Darrow, and Michonne eventually show their faces. An entire basement torture chamber. And because of the Croat's influence in the Governor's already perceptive mind when torturing, this means that a second one would be built. Think of a basement, and then think of a torture chamber the size of that basement. And then think of a second one and combining the two. That's how crazy this whole friendship has endeared. But we're going to cut to Alexandria for the remainder since we've already covered a good bit. Now, the whole thing with Rick and the entrance to Alexandria pretty much plays out as you would expect, outside of a few extra people and Tara and Noah not being involved. But the interviews would play out the same way, nothing would change here, because with Rick and them, ain't too much changing from the original story. Glenn still punches Aiden, and much of the interactions go per normal. But we get our first major change, as I've discussed in other stories, albeit very differently, kind of. With Mika being around, or at least someone that would influence Carol, or be around her and not make her, like the character that she was originally in the story. At this part. This means that when she would try and go and get the guns from the armory, if she even would at all, that means if she were to, Sam and her would not have, she wouldn't threaten Sam. So that means that Sam's not going to be a little crybaby and traumatized, as I've done before. So yeah. Daryl and Beth, Daryl's character would also remain lighter, because Beth would be around, and like I've said in many of other stories, this would result in a relationship which they had already been forming, which would be almost complete by this point in time. Now, when we get to the whole run with Glenn, Aiden, Nicholas, and what would originally be Tara, Noah, and Eugene, it's going to be different here, because there's no Tara and Noah. So who do you put here to replace those two? And I've had pretty good characters to replace them before, and this one's going to be self-explanatory with an extra add-on. Beth and Tyrese. Tyrese I've added pretty much almost every single time. And Beth has barely ever been in this situation, which means that she is going to get injured by the grenade instead of Tara. And she's not killed here, she's just injured, because something makes me think that Beth would still survive here. Tara did, and they didn't seem too far apart in terms of character and strength. Tyrese, unfortunately, would die in the sliding glass doors, because I've done that before, it fits, and yeah. And Glenn would severely beat Nicholas. Now, before I might have had him kill him in this sense, but for the sake of everything, I think that if it were Noah or Tyrese, Glenn would beat Nicholas the same way, if not way more so. But if it were someone like Bob or T-Dog, he would definitely kill Nicholas. But not here. Now, we cut back to Alexandria shortly after the incident. And Daryl being there, what do you guys think will come of this? Do you think that he will kill Nicholas because of what's happened to Beth? And, including the fact that Tyrese has died, do you think that will serve as an extra add-on, even though Daryl and Beth remain together? He didn't show upwards, compassion besides being a friend to Tyrese. But what do you think will happen here? Do you think that he will kill Nicholas and risk his being here? Or do you think that him killing Nicholas here will actually mean something and not get him kicked out? Or do you think Nicholas will just straight up lie and get himself killed in the process? Really doesn't matter. That's the end where we're going to be leaving things for right now. With the governor and the Crow expanding their friendship to the horizons with everything that they're building, and Beth and Tyrese proving to be a real plot twist in terms of getting injured and killed in this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed, like the new intros and outros that I've been providing. Like and subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys next time.